If. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good, nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it all on one turn of pitch and toss and lose and start again at your beginnings and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there was nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch. If neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much. If you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and, which is more, you'll be a man, my son. By Rudyard Kipling. It was written over 100 years ago. So today it's September 23rd at 8:50 p.m. for me now. I know it's not for you. My dad died the morning of September 24th. It'll be 14 years. So it was about this time 14 years ago, I was making my way. He was staying at the hospice for his, which if you don't know, it's kind of like a hospital, but a little bit more pleasant. And I took my guitar to play. He was pretty much incommunicable at that point. And so I stayed the night there, played some guitar, and anyways. Let's see. Let's look into this poem here. So if you can keep your head when all about you are losing yours and blaming it on you, we can all relate to these kinds of things, right? I mean, this isn't it's very well written, of course. That's why it's been so well loved for so long. But really, I don't think I'm going to just go through all of it. And I was thinking like breaking it down more and more, but we can do that on our own another time. It'll be your homework. But this last sentence, though, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son. So this is what he wants for his son, to be able to get through this life strong. And nowadays you hear like all stuff like this, toxic masculinity and these sorts of things. Well, what is toxic masculinity? Well, I think it's a relatively small portion of the population that's talking about this. They just happen to be kind of loud. And so what if you're a woman that has all these traits? Does that make you a man? No, of course not, right? But he's not talking to his son about being a woman. He's not talking to his daughter about being a man. He's talking to his son about being a man. These are good virtues to have. That's what makes it a virtue. Good traits to have. So I guess I'm kind of tough on myself, and I have, it's kind of weird when your dad dies. My grandpa died about just a year and a half before my dad. Before my dad, and so kind of like being the oldest in my line, there's some sort of tribal responsibility that comes with that, isn't there? Like we feel something about that, the oldest one. There was this Wim Hof quote that I liked, and he was like, we're the elders. Someone has to do it. It's like, okay, so sometimes maybe you don't think you're ready for something, but you just have to keep going. And so the stuff I was trying to teach my kids, and it's a lot of this kind of stuff. I mean, that sums up a lot, doesn't it? This is like the third time I restarted this podcast today. Actually, a little inside baseball for you. But at first, I thought it would be nice to have my windows open. It's nice outside. It'd be nice to have the wind blowing through. I rarely use my air conditioner. It's my electric bill was like $29 last month. So I like having the windows open and not have the air conditioner on. Sometimes I'll use the fan. If it gets real, I'll turn the air conditioner on at night, but when I'm going to sleep. So I'm not just sweating. But where was I? Oh, so this is like the third time I started the podcast. I had the windows open, and at first I was singing the song Wonder This World by Johnny Lang. It was written by someone else, actually, but Johnny Lang made it popular. And within just like, before I could even get through it, there's like loud ass motorcycles going by, and then a plane flies over, like, sound like he was just right over the roof doing that like Top Gun trick or whatever. So it gets kind of like frustrating. So I thought, well, maybe the microphone won't even pick it up, but it's so distracting to me. So I closed up all my windows and started again. And so I was going to read Wonder This World, or sing Wonder This World. It's a really cool song. I'm not going to sing it right now. It seems like there's some guys that have girlfriends all the time. They have all these girl problems all the time. And then, of course, women, it seems like they have, a lot of guys sending them messages of various sorts. And sometimes I'll see on Facebook, like a woman will screenshot the message, this guy asking her out, and she'll like, LOL, I get these all the time. This is Facebook, not a uh, dating app or whatever. And so like shows the picture of the guy, and maybe sometimes the guy's like sending vulgar pictures or whatever, and uh, but sometimes it just seems like a nice guy that is trying to break the ice a little bit. And then she decides to tar and feather him, drag him through town so everyone can see. Why is that? It's like I've seen it a bunch of times, so I'm not talking about like one in particular person. It hasn't been that long since I've seen this. Like, what's she trying to show? That a lot of guys find her attractive, or she just wants to embarrass this guy for some reason? You know what? What's the big deal? There's various books out there. I don't think I've ever gotten through a whole one, but sometimes I was somebody recommended this book to me, and I didn't realize what it was until I thought it was like something about relationships, and it was, but it was more like how to get women, like kind of put that way. And so I was trying to get through it, and I couldn't get very far. I was like, this does not resonate with me at all. But there's this kind of like the Boomhauer approach. So if you ever watch King of the Hill, there's one where Hank wants Bobby to be able to get girls, and so he sends them with his buddy Boomhauer. And Boomhauer pretty much asks out every girl that he sees. And so he gets shot down over and over and over and over again. And every once in a while, he'll get one. And so Bobby goes with him, and he sees what he's doing, and he's asking out woman after woman at the mall, and it's not working. And so then Bobby, he's like, this isn't for me. And so he goes and he sits on this bench at the mall, and there just happens to be this girl there about his age, and they just kind of like start talking naturally. He wasn't going there to try to ask her out. It was just this natural thing. Not that asking a woman out isn't natural, but he wasn't in that state of mind. He was just sitting down, and there she was. So why are some guys like so intimidated about asking girls out? I think part of it could be like what happens, like if they're like publicly humiliated, when the woman makes a big deal out of his rejection. I went to this Thai restaurant with a buddy of mine. We're working on this big program. It's going to be awesome, but we were having some pictures done, which I really want to promote the photographer and stuff. She's really cool, really good. I think I'll do that later. I don't want to get too sidetracked right now. We're eating and we're just talking about like the program and whatever. And this very attractive woman comes in, looks like she's with her sister or something like that. And this is a Saturday evening. And so him and I are both kind of like dirty and scraped up from lifting logs and climbing trees and lifting rocks and stuff. And she was like so attractive. I was losing my train of thought. I was like listening to him or talk, and I kept looking over like, God. But I didn't say anything. And then like they were picking, they leave, and it's like, oh, I wonder what would have happened if I did go. And I mean, there was no eye contact or anything. It wasn't that, and I didn't make a big deal out of her being there. And she was like facing away from us. But it's interesting how these little things, all these like little decisions that we make can really change the path of our life. You know, when I've, last girlfriend or something like that, what would have happened if I didn't ask her out? Once you start seeing someone, all of a sudden you're a big part of your life starts to go a different direction. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's great for a little bit, and then it crashes and burns. And there's something about like the potential and the seed of what could be. I was at a yoga class, and I was kind of seeing the teacher. We were kind of like sort of on and off for a little while. And we were somewhat of in between on and off stage. And when I was at her class, and this woman, like just behind me, was definitely checking me out. I go to like do my twist, and I see that she was obviously looking at me, and then she looks away, and I'm trying not to make eye contact, and it seemed like, well, sometimes she definitely was. But me and the teacher, we were supposed to go out to dinner after class. So it was like class and go out to dinner and stuff. And it was, that was the plan. And like I said, I guess if you're in between on and off, what is it? It's more like off, right? But it kind of in between. So it was weird. So then after the class, this woman she's very attractive. I was in the lobby, and she was like kind of like walking up to me, and she was obviously looking right at me, like trying to make eye contact, and it seemed like she was wanting to start some sort of conversation. And I just was like, I don't see you. And I'm looking away, and like, don't make eye contact. Don't look. And so didn't look. I leave with the teacher. I won't say her name. And we go out to dinner, and so it didn't work out with her and I. It seemed like it was going to for a while, and then not. And it's like, this is great. And then it's like, what the hell is this? So then I kind of wondered, maybe part of me is Like if you ever watch the show How I Met Your Mother, part of me maybe has a little bit of that Ted in him. I'm not the Barney character. So Barney, he's the one that's always hooking up with more and more women all the time. It's just this thing. And Ted is this idealist, this romantic, this guy, and he gets like these highs and lows. But I couldn't help but kind of wonder, like, well, what would have happened? You know, should I go back to the class? Go back to the class there and see if she happens to pop up again. And this time, no, I haven't done that. But we hear about these other dimensions that are, according to physicists, and I was just watching one on, I don't know if it's Brian Carroll. I probably don't have that name right, but a physicist that was on the Joe Rogan show, they were talking about that. So it's not infinite U's and infinite dimensions, but it's a lot, and they have it pretty much proved, or it's a very good theory mathematically. The math works out. And so maybe one of me wasn't there at the class because I was going out to dinner with the teacher afterwards. I was just there, and I met this other woman and then went off in that direction. And that might sound kind of crazy, but according to these physicists, that's not crazy. And in fact, I don't think it's crazy to say in fact, or incorrect to say in fact, in very good theory at least, that actually probably happened. Now, I'm not a physicist, but I'm pretty sure I have that correct, according to, their math. It's like, what's going on in that dimension? Like, where that me did make eye contact, let the conversation spark, go out to dinner with her instead. And could it be that, sometimes we're in between these two worlds where we see one. So there's this one world where this one dimension where I'm with the teacher. Then there's this other one where I end up with the other woman that was there as a student. And so right now I'm not with either one of them. So it's like this whole other world. I have this buddy, he used to say, you can always trust people to be themselves. And I always liked that. And I've often ignored that because I was hoping something else would be true, which backfires. Almost always it's going to backfire. So this particular woman that I was had this sort of on and off again sort of thing. Once I saw how it was, why would I think it would be different? Why bother trying again? So if we were on and then off, and another woman that seems really great, at least from her appearance, and not just she was pretty, but she had this vibe about her that was cool. Plus, it helps when she's obviously checking me out too. Like showing interest does help. But it's hard. We fight ourselves, don't we? We fall into these patterns. So I was talking with my buddy about that Saturday night at that dinner, like these patterns. I told him something else, which I'm not going to get into, but basically, uh, I did something where I started falling into that pattern again. And so he can tell me, he can obviously see it. Just like when he's telling me about this thing with a girl that's not working out the way he wants. Like, dude, clearly this is how it is. But when you're in that situation, you have an ideal. You want it to be a different way. It's like you want to be in this other dimension. Part of you wants to have it in the dimension where this thing does work with this person. So we all have that internal struggle of sorts, right? There's like more than one view and want. We have opposing wants in these bodies, in these minds. It's very interesting how we end up working out what we're going to do with ourselves. Like there's these lessons in doing the same thing wrong over and over again. And then hopefully someone comes along and makes it real obvious that we should go their way. That our ways are merging. Now I see some of my friends now. I see like there was a couple. They've been married like 12 years, and they're about my age. I've never been married. It's like, imagine that, being married for 12 years. It's really cool. Um, I think the longest I've been with someone is 2 years. So to be able to like find someone that you just, well, I was thinking of the difference between, like, okay, like you settle down, you get married, you have kids, so you settle down. But then like you settle up your tab at the restaurant, or your bar. You settle up with you know like when you, like, settling down almost sounds like you're not fulfilling some potentials that you have, and in a way that you're not, because you have the potential to go off the rails and do all this dumb stuff and be self-destructive. And if you're in the right relationship, you'll be with a woman that doesn't really let you get away with going that way. she'll want what's best for you. She'll see your potential. And, like this poem, if there's, like in the poem, if there's a woman that can like keep it together like that and not be like harsh with you, but be like demanding but understanding also, something like that. Being demanding and accepting. Well, I don't find like a real need to be with someone. I live by myself. I like the freedom of it. It'd be nice to find someone to have fun with, and it seems like relationships these days are changing. I'm on this dating app that I can barely stand. I don't really do much with it. I've almost just deleted my account, but I'm on there just but it's, for some reason I just clicked on it now just to kind of like see what's, but you like almost always, okay, so I just flipped to this first one. They almost always have their drinking pics. They have their outside in the nature pics. So they're it's not really I don't drink. And then some of them, seems like a high percentage of them are in these like polyamorous relationships, which I have no interest in whatsoever. That seems to be more and more popular, and I guess it's good that people can at least be honest, like with what they don't want to just be with one person, so at least they're not lying about it and hurting people in that way. There was a magazine, was it in, or it was like a little newspaper kind of thing. I don't even know if it's still around or maybe it's just online, but it was called Nuvo. And there was a section in it that it would say something like, me wearing a black tank top and green shorts, you blue ribbon in your hair, and describing them. Saw you at the line at Starbucks on Broad Ripple Avenue. Made eye contact. I wish I would have said something. So it was these classifieds for people that wish they would have said something. They wish they would have asked someone out but didn't. What is it, like, getting back to like what is it that makes it difficult? And where so many guys go wrong with how they go about their asking. I was at the library and there was this very attractive woman walking out. She was dressed up really nice. It looked like she had a meeting there. And there's this guy who's like wearing more like the baggy pants sagging down his butt, and he's got, these more like street clothes on, and he's like saying something to her, but not like walking up to her and being polite. It's more like, where are you going looking all sophisticated? Hey, he's like asking her out sort of from a distance, and about as impersonal as could be. And so he's saying that kind of stuff to her, and I'm walking down the steps. I'm kind of like watching to make sure he's not going to do anything. He didn't seem like aggressive or anything, but it was kind of odd. So he's like saying this stuff to her, and I walk by. I'm like, oh, I'm surprised that didn't work. He goes, it never works. I'm like, yeah, of course. So why would you want someone that would respond to such things? But it's all he had, he's throwing it out there, giving it a try, however weak it may be. I had a dream a couple years ago. There was this Native American woman and a bear in this fenced area. And the woman, she was very powerful, and she had long black hair. And the bear was huge and on his two legs, if I remember right the whole time. And there were boys and men, males of different ages. They had a chance to say something wise in a very short amount of time. They had to say something right on the spot that was wise, or the bear would attack. Or to keep the bear from attacking, they would have to like lay down on the ground. And one after another goes up, and they were just all weak and just pathetic. They'd go up and they'd start to say something, they'd just be like, and then they'd fall on the ground. And the woman wasn't saying anything. She was just kind of pacing around, and like she kind of like dips her head a little bit and throws her hair back, and it was like in this slow motion, iconic kind of way. And she just like starts like kind of like pace around, and it got to be my turn. And I don't. What I remember is feeling the bear's tooth go into my hand, and I knew I was dreaming, and I could feel it in my body, my real body that's laying in the bed. So I saw it from like a first-person perspective in the dream. So meaning I could like kind of like see my hand, but I couldn't see my body. I couldn't see my face, my head. So I felt the bear's tooth go into my hand, and I was like twisting my arm to try to like keep it from tearing up my hand too bad. I don't remember anything after that. So I've thought about that dream quite a bit. So who is the native woman? Who's the bear? What's the bear? And what would you say if you just okay, say something wise. Go. So if I just ask you right now, say something wise. Go for it. What'd you come up with? So the native woman didn't say anything. The bear didn't say anything. So then I was thinking, and maybe I did this in the dream. I think there was a little gap in my memory, or but I don't think I said anything. Because what are you going to say to her? So if the bear bit my hand, that means I didn't just lay on the ground like these other guys in the dream that were just pathetic. It means I faced the bear. So what was the woman? So was the woman like the earth, like the world as it is, and then the bear are consequences for our actions, or like in some cultures there's like these there were these, maybe there still are, like these competitions for these women. Because it wasn't long ago that everyone was a wilderness survival expert. It wasn't even called that, it was just called being a human. Everyone was tough, and if you were old or sick or of maybe some other constitutions, or then you're depending on the protectors of the tribe to take care of you. And as the protector, they should make sure that their people are taken care of. So if you're a woman, and she looked like she might have been in her mid 20s or so in the dream, 30 maybe. So what would she want with a weak man? What use would he be? So in the dream, it didn't seem like it was a tryout for to get her, or it was just. I mean, what I said was about all I remember, really. So if we put this into the, as often happens with the show, I have an idea of stuff that I want to talk about, and then I hit record, and I'm off somewhere else. I was not planning on talking about this stuff. I was planning on talking about kids and how we want to raise them and ourselves, and are we how we want to raise ourselves and that kind of thing. I guess it's related, right? Because so much of our lives has to do with who we pick. What kind of partner can we have? What kind of quality can we get? What are you ready for? What will you work for? As I've told on the air many times, I know there's always new listeners, and especially with my, I did a couple of shows where I sing, and there's like a big spike in the listens. Uh, when I quit drinking, had this experience with this angel or bodhisattva or something, and what I learned from her was you have to be a magnet for what you want to attract. And so you think, are you the kind of guy that the kind of girl that you want would be attracted to? If not, what can you do to change that? There can be an interesting contrast of what women say they want and what they end up choosing. But in these ideal scenarios, you're getting your ideal. So if you spend all your money drinking, you do stupid stuff with your friends instead of taking care of your responsibilities, but you're what does a woman that doesn't do that want with that? Like, so much of our life is who we're with. And also, what do we do when no one's looking? I think there's energetic imprint, sorts of energetic signature of our behaviors and your body, the way you project yourself into the world, however much you're trying to mask the truth. There's a vibe that people give out. And people can be fooled. But maybe if you're doing things that you shouldn't be, you carry that in your posture, your eyes. And so when people look at you, they already kind of know. Because don't you, like when you're attracted to someone, whether it's a guy, you're attracted to a woman that you want to date, or you're a guy and you're like attracted to like a buddy that, oh, I bet he's fun to hang out with, and that's kind of interesting how that works too. While you're attracted to friends, but you can kind of pick up on who is this guy really, and then you hang out and like, oh yeah, this dude's cool. He's fun to go to concerts with and train with, and I'm lucky enough to have some cool buddies like that. Or if you're a guy and there's the woman, like how do you read what's going on there? A lot of times we read what we want. Yeah. I think I will just start. Here's a book. It's Sand and Foam by Kahlil Gibran. I hope I'm making sense here. It was, again, nothing that I planned on, really. And what does this? I guess it's all sort of related. So, I admire the man who reveals his mind to me. I honor him who unveils his dreams. But why am I shy and even a little ashamed before him who serves me? Well, I'll be. Isn't that what I was just talking about in ways, right? So I see this attractive woman at the restaurant. She's not like giving me the signal to come over to her. But what if I just gave it a try anyway? Who knows what would happen? Maybe she'd, who knows? The gifted were once proud in serving princes. Now they claim honor in serving paupers. The angels know that too many practical men eat their bread with the sweat of the dreamer's brow. let's, let's dig into that one a little bit. That's interesting. What's going on here? The angels know that too many practical men eat their bread with the sweat of the dreamer's brow. What do you think about that? What's that mean to you? I mean, we see the meaning, right? But I think, so I lived my life in that way a lot. I started out as a trainer when I was 20 years old, and I did it full time for 2 years. Ended up quitting the business because I didn't like the business. I loved training people. I loved learning that way and working with people and helping people. But it was mainly the owner of the place I worked. He was such a control freak. He really ruined it for me, and he had the most successful personal training gym in town, and he really just ruined it for me. And it took me a while to get back in the business, but I still trained people like friends and friends of friends. So I had this dream of being a trainer, and I had it. I was already doing it at 20 years old. And then I was like, well, if that's what it's like, I would rather work doing something I don't really care about for money, and then be able to do what I really love for free. If I don't get paid for it, fine. I'm having fun training martial arts and lifting and just hanging out with friends, and they bring in new people and just fun. But I always wanted to have my own gym. I have my own gym now. And I still have a full-time job somewhere else. Does that make sense? So the angels know that too many practical men eat their bread with the sweat of the dreamer's brow. Wit is often a mask. If you could tear it, you would find either a genius irritated or cleverness juggling. So it's interesting how these callbacks happen to the dream that I was talking about with the Native American woman and the bear. So you have, okay, say something wise. Say, but I think the answer would just be go stand with them, and don't say anything. But you have to have that truth. Because if you go there and just stand with them and you look weak, so there's this powerful woman, there's a bear, can you stand with them and like them, not say anything? Or when you're with them, are you going to get nervous and act silly? We choose our joys and our sorrows long before we experience them. There's a little story that I read in a book by Pavel Satulin. And this Russian guy, he lives in this apartment, and this beautiful woman moves in the next floor up, and he sees her moving in, and sees her go up to her apartment, and he's back at his, and he can't stop thinking about her. He's like, okay, I want to ask her out. What kind of excuse can I make to go ask her out. What kind of excuse can I have to talk to her? And she's like, okay, I know. I'll ask her to borrow her iron. So he works up the courage to go talk to her. And so he's getting ready. He's walking out his apartment door, and he's like, well, if she does say yes, then she's probably not going to want me to hang out with my buddies on Saturday nights at the bar. He takes a few more steps, and like, well, if it worked out, she's going to give me a hard time about watching the game instead of hanging out with her. He takes a few more steps, and she's going to probably end up giving me a hard time about my diet. And he starts walking up the steps, and he's like, she's probably going to give me a hard time about not exercising enough. And a couple more steps, and it's like, she's probably going to give me a hard time about my job. And a couple more steps, she's going to give me a hard time about my apartment. And so he ends up knocking on her door, and she answers. He says, just keep your damn iron. And he walks off. So I think that's an interesting story. Sticks with me. So that's how some people play these things out. So he has to have this excuse to go talk to her. Just wanting to talk to her isn't enough. We do the coffee thing, right? Now it's popular to, do you want to go get a cup of coffee? It's this, kind of like training wheels for the date or something like that. So he already plays this whole life out with her before he gets to the door. Let's move on. They say to me, you must needs choose between the pleasures of this world and the peace of the next world. And I say to them, I have chosen both the delights of this world and the peace of the next. For I know in my heart that the supreme poet wrote but one poem, and it scans perfectly, and it also rhymes perfectly. Faith is an oasis in the heart which will never be reached by the caravan of thinking. The bitterest thing in our today's sorrow is the memory of yesterday's joy. I really love Kahlil Gibran. I always mean to have all these books around from the library. And I always mean to read them more, but it's not really until I get on the podcast that I get to really read them. Or I could read them, but I don't. Isn't it interesting? Here's one that I like. I've read this before. Half of what I say is meaningless, but I say it so the other half may reach you. That really resonates with me. The real in us is silent. The acquired is talkative. That makes sense going back to the poem, right? So what do you say to the woman and the bear? Hmm. So back to the beginning of what I meant to talk about. I guess I did talk about it in ways that I didn't see coming. It's part of the fun, part of the interest in the podcast that what makes me like them is there's no script. I'll often have a list of things, like an outline of stuff I want to talk about. But then I often get surprised, and the last few times I haven't had one. I had these ideas in my mind, and I just don't get to them, or I do in the roundabout ways. It's interesting catching these thoughts and what ones I want to give mind to. Which thoughts do you want to think about? You have these dark thoughts pop into your mind. Do you go along with them? Imagine what it takes to make a horror movie, to write one out, direct it. So if you're going to make a movie, I would imagine it's just the focus of your thinking all the time, whether you're on the set, you're writing out the script, you're walking around, you're thinking about it all the time. You'd be thinking, like, what horrible things could I have in this? So aren't you thinking of these horrible things? And we know what's horrible. We know what's evil. And we know what hurts because we know what hurts us. So our fears are probably much like the next guy's. So this show, I meant to talk more about my dad. And then my kids. And it's kind of like how to get through this world. I guess it is what it is. We can just do what we can do. I bought a new guitar. I always feel bad about spending money on myself. It's like, oh, I could be paying, the credit card, more on the credit card bill or something like that. But a buddy of mine sold me this really nice guitar for $250. And then it's an acoustic electric. And I haven't had a new guitar in a long time. So that one that I was talking about when I played for my dad actually played that guitar too. I've had it for like 16 years. I haven't had any other guitar. And it's this old classical. And so I bought one off my buddy that's an acoustic electric. And it's easy to play. And I'm getting more used to playing it. And I ended up buying an amp. And so I'm like looking at all these different kinds of amps, and I end up buying one that it was used, new. I saw it on sale for like $150 at this guitar store. And I bought a used one that, I mean, it looks brand new for $100. So what it does, obviously it makes the guitar louder, but it also, it makes your mistakes louder too. So my other guitar, the classical, I play mostly with my fingers. I don't really use a pick very often. And so I could tell, especially when I plugged in the new guitar, the angle that I was holding the pick made it, I wasn't really hitting it flat. With the flat part, I was hitting it more with the edge. And when it's going through the amplifier, it sounds, you can definitely hear it. So I had to like very consciously change the way I hold the pick. So think of like, what kind of amplifier do you have in your life that really puts your mistakes right in front of you? Maybe it's stuff other people wouldn't even notice. Maybe I'm playing, maybe nobody, other people would hear it, I'm sure, but maybe not. It's like you'd always hear that. You're just not, you need to change the angle of your pick a little bit. So, and it'll sound better. So a lot of times that's in our relationships, isn't it? Aren't they the amplifier for your truth, your untruths? So if you don't have a relationship like with boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever, are you tuning in to your truth, or are you just pretending? You put this mask on. I think when it gets to be maybe the end of the day, maybe that's why I like doing these podcasts at night. Usually I do Sunday night, but it's like the day's done. I'm not like, and it gets into like the reflective time of the evening, right? You know, if a podcast done in the morning, now you can listen to it in the morning, but if I was to like wake up extra early to do the podcast, or do it on, Saturday morning at 8 a.m. or something like that, it would be different. Am I making sense? So in a way, this is my amplifier for my truth. I reveal things on the show that kind of surprised me. Let me finish this up with, let's see. I think, let's go back to sand and foam. Or, let's see. Sorry. Yeah, let's just go to sand and foam. Flip through some and stop. A woman protested, saying, "Of course it was a righteous war. My son fell in it." I said to life, I would hear death speak. And life raised her voice a little higher and said, "You hear him now." When you have solved all the mysteries of life, you long for death, for it is but another mystery of life. Birth and death are the two noblest expressions of bravery. I remember I was talking about my dad dying 14 years ago tomorrow, and so I'm finishing it up by randomly choosing a page that happens to be about this stuff. Let's see what the next page has. My friend, you and I shall remain strangers unto life, and unto one another, and each unto himself, until the day when you shall speak and I shall listen, deeming your voice my own voice. And when I shall stand before you, thinking myself standing before a mirror. They say to me, should you know yourself, you would know all men. And I say, only when I seek all men shall I know myself. Man is two men. One is awake in darkness. The other is asleep in light. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.